My uncle Rhett Yala, amazing, and I felt like a princess.
On April 20th, 2026, at the Sibylis Palace in Madrid, the world's top-ranked tennis player received the Oscars of sport and stepped off the stage trembling, emotional, and struggling to speak. That woman was Aryna Sabalenka. She had just secured the Laureus World Sportswoman of the Year award. She had controlled the entire previous season. She was, by every measurable metric, the headline story of the evening. By the next morning, she wasn't the only one. A 20-year-old attendee with no nomination and no award at her table had walked onto that same red carpet in a gown flown in from Manila. It was flawless, a celebration of elite sport. This was my first major red carpet, and I thought, this is the moment. Days earlier, and within hours, 6 of her fellow WTA professionals had flooded her comment section. Tennis Channel had produced a standalone broadcast segment on her walk. Not the ceremony, not the winner, just her walk. The WTA's own official accounts had amplified her image. Ranked number 44 inches the world. Not nominated, not awarded, and somehow the other major conversation in the room. What happened at Sibylis Palace on that Monday night? And why did the most prestigious red carpet in global sport belong, at least in part, to someone whose name was never announced? The Laureus World Sports Awards are not a tennis event. They are sport's highest cross-disciplinary ceremony. The room where Simone Biles, Nadia Comaneci, Lamine Yamal, Lando Norris, and Rory McIlroy all share a carpet. Tennis earns its place there only when a player has achieved something the entire sports world recognizes. In 2026, that player was Sabalenka. 4 titles in 2025, including the US Open, year-end #1 across the full 52-week calendar, and the 5th WTA player in history to receive the Sportswoman of the Year award. The stage was built for her. Ila was invited as a guest. She had 1 week to decide what to wear. That choice, made in roughly 7 days and executed across 2 continents, is where this story truly begins. Here is the structural reality Ila walked into that night. She is ranked number 44 inches the world. She holds no WTA title. She entered Madrid without a seeding, which means in the second round, she faces Elise Mertens, a seeded opponent who defeated her the last time they played. The ranking system, which operates on a rolling 5-2-week basis, has not yet reflected her 2026 form. As of the most recent WTA race standings, she sits 10th, top 10, despite being ranked 44th. The gap between those two numbers is the clearest evidence available that who she is and what the scoreboard says she is are not the same thing. This is not a crisis of ability. It is a flaw in institutional measurement, and it's worth acknowledging Sabalenka's side of this. Clearly, Sabalenka's presence at the Laureus World Sports Awards was fully deserved. She delivered the most dominant season in women's tennis in 2025, and this was sport's highest recognition of that achievement. There is no conflict between these two women. The tension exists in the structure of the night. The official narrative and the viral narrative moved on separate tracks. Maribel Nadal had stated it clearly just a day before the ceremony. Speaking as Deputy General Manager of the Rafa Nadal Academy, the institution that has been Ila's training base since she was 13, Maribel told Sportska, "What she's doing is incredible. It's wonderful to see the support she receives all over the world. She's an inspiration to many boys and girls in the Philippines. She's an amazing girl, very humble." She said that before the dress arrived, before the red carpet, before everything that followed. Start with the phone call. Approximately 1 week before the Laureus ceremony, Ila called her uncle Rhett Ila in the Philippines. Rhett is an established Filipino fashion designer. Not a boutique operation, not a first attempt.
It's perfect, Laureus Sports Awards. This is my first major red carpet, and I was like,
Ila told him she wanted to wear a Filipiniana to the red carpet. She had carried this idea for years. She said in her press conference afterward, "I've always had a dream that if I were on a red carpet, I would wear a Filipiniana." This was not a brand consultation. It was a niece calling her uncle about a personal dream she had held long before becoming famous. Rhett Ila designed the gown. He sourced the materials. He had it produced and shipped internationally, from Manila to Madrid, within days. What arrived was a full beige chiffon gown with a pleated tube silhouette paired with a cropped piña fabric bolero featuring butterfly sleeves. The signature architectural element of the barot saya is the Philippine national formal attire. The piña fabric is not just a detail. It is made from pineapple leaf fibers. It is one of the most labor-intensive natural textiles in the world, requiring thousands of individual fiber extractions per meter, and it can only be produced in the Philippines. It cannot be sourced anywhere else. Every thread in that bolero is unmistakably Filipino. It cannot be replicated in any other country by any other hand. She specifically chose the piña fabric for the bolero top. Rhett confirmed this in a Metro-style exclusive interview on April 21st, 2026. At an awards ceremony attended by athletes representing dozens of nations, Aryna was the only person on that carpet wearing the formal heritage attire of her country. Everyone else wore designer gowns. Aryna wore the Philippines. What followed on social media was not just a fan reaction. It was a tour-level moment. 6 active WTA professionals, not commentators, not journalists, not casual supporters, paused during tournament week to comment on a single Instagram post. Coco Gauff, the 2023 US Open champion, currently ranked number 4 in the world, wrote one word: beautiful. Victoria Mboko, one of the breakout stars of 2025, wrote ridiculous, in the only sense where that word is praise. Katie Boulter, the British number 1, wrote absolutely stunning. Anne Lee wrote just passed away by this beauty. Eva Liss wrote oh my god. Camila Osorio, Colombia's top player, left a single word in Spanish: hermosa, beautiful. That comment section is not a crowd reaction. It is a documented record of how Ayla's peers interpret her cultural presence. These are ranked professionals responding to another ranked professional's post during an active tournament week. The engagement is voluntary. It requires stopping, observing, and finding something worth saying. No other WTA player at the Laureus World Sports Awards generated that kind of response. Tennis Channel, an American broadcaster whose primary focus is covering Sabalenka, Djokovic, and the Grand Slams, published a dedicated standalone segment titled Alex Ayla on walking the glorious red carpet. Not a clip from the ceremony broadcast, not a side feature, but a full segment on a guest. The WTA's own official social media accounts amplified Ayla's appearance separately, placing her image within the institutional feed alongside the award winners. You already understand what fans who have been watching since the Australian Open recognized, even if the mainstream struggled to explain it. The rankings do not fully reflect what is actually happening. That night in Madrid was simply the clearest evidence yet that the number and the reality are operating on different timelines. Then there is the data point that makes this structurally undeniable. As of the latest WTA race standings, the race to the WTA Finals, which resets every January and tracks only current season performance at the biggest tournaments, Ayla sits 10th with 772 points. Ranked number 44 inches the world, she is accumulating race points at the pace of a top 1-0 player. The standard ranking system operates on a rolling 5-2 week basis. When Ayla reached the Miami Open semifinal in 2025, she earned hundreds of points. When she reached the round of 16 at the 2026 Miami Open with a solid performance, she dropped 16 spots, not because she played worse, but because her previous success expired from the ranking at the same time. The ranking system had not yet caught up to her. The race already had. The man who co-hosted the Laureus ceremony that Monday night, the man whose name was on the marquee and who walked the same carpet hours before Ayla, had already publicly described the kind of player she is. Novak Djokovic, with 24 Grand Slam titles and 5 Laureus Awards of his own, representing a career that has shared stages with every generational player of the modern era. On January 23, 2026, during a press conference at the Australian Open, Djokovic was asked about overcrowding on courts. He was not specifically asked about Ayla. The situation had already escalated beyond a scheduling issue. Her crowds had become a logistical challenge at the biggest tennis event in the Southern Hemisphere. What he said was, she has been the biggest ever tennis player from that country, which is a big country, and there's a big interest. Having too much crowd is a very good problem. He called it a very good problem, meaning the institution had to reorganize itself around her presence. Corridors filling, courts unable to contain the volume. Djokovic, widely considered the greatest of all time, highlighting a 20-year-old's crowd impact as a logistical phenomenon worth addressing at a press conference no one had asked him to hold. 3 months later, he co-hosted the ceremony where she walked in wearing her uncle's gown and generated coverage comparable to his own hosting role. She took a selfie with him and Eileen Gu. She captioned it, "Sandwiched between greatness." His name was on the marquee, hers was in the comment sections. What the Laureus night confirmed is that this story has chapters the red carpet cannot contain. Ayla is currently competing at the Madrid Open, where her second-round match against Elise Mertens is scheduled for April 24th. Her draw offers a possible path to the quarterfinals. And the quarterfinals at a WTA 1000 inches Madrid could include Sabalenka, the three-time defending champion seeking a record fourth consecutive title in this city. The Queen and the guest who shared a red carpet on Monday might still share a court before the weekend. After Madrid comes Rome, the Italian Open from May 5th through 18th. Aryna has 0 points to defend there. Every match is a net gain. Every win pushes her upward. The structural weight of the ranking system, which penalized her in Miami for past success, reverses on a clean slate. Then comes French Open from May 26th through June 8th. 0 points to defend on the Paris clay. The seeding calculation, if Madrid and Rome produce deep runs, could place her inside the top 35 before the draw is finalized. And Roland Garros, with its large Filipino and Asian diaspora in Paris, with its crowd culture, with its history of elevating cultural moments beyond the scoreboard, is the stage where the story that began at Sibylis Palace will find its next chapter. This was always the direction of the trajectory. The race numbers were building toward a clay season breakthrough. What the Laureus night did was frame it in formal wear, place it on the most photographed carpet in world sport, so that when she wins matches, the world already understands the shape of the story. The structural reality beneath all of this is not comfortable. Aryna enters the Mertens match unseeded. Mertens is the 19th seed. Their only previous meeting was won by Mertens. In a draw without protective seeding, every round from here requires defeating players the system suggests she should not beat, which is exactly what her race ranking indicates she has been doing all season, but that does not make any single match easier. The piña fabric has no impact on clay courts. Instagram comments do not hold serve. Djokovic's quote does not break returns. And Stuttgart, where Aryna lost in the first round to Leylah Fernandez 1-6, 4-6 3 weeks ago, is a reminder that race rankings reflect accumulated results, not guaranteed outcomes. The ranking system has not caught up because it depends on verified results, and verified results require winning on the hardest days. There is no margin for ease here. Aryna is ranked number 44 because the system records what it records. She is 10th in the race because she has defeated stronger players at bigger events than a number 44 is expected to. Both realities exist at the same time, and the Mertens match on April 24th is where that tension is resolved. Not by a ceremony, not by a gown, but by 60 minutes on red clay at altitude. She said it herself the morning after the red carpet, having already won her first round match in 1 hour and 31 minutes. I've always had a dream that if I were on a red carpet, I would wear a Filipiniana.
Wear what's called the Filipiniana, and it's a very traditional Filipino formal wear.
My uncle is a well-known fashion designer in the Philippines, so we called him, and within a couple of days it was shipped out, he delivered, and I felt like a princess. She said it during a post-match press conference after her win. Not in a speech, not on a stage, just a player answering questions about clay court tennis, and then quietly, almost casually, saying that she felt like a princess. The dress is gone. The racket is back. The dream is documented. Recall the moment Novak Djokovic stood in Melbourne in January and described a 2-0-year-old's crowd impact as a very good problem, and then 3 months later hosted the event where she walked in and became the secondary headline at a night that belonged to the sport's reigning number 1. Recall the uncle in Manila sourcing piña fiber within days, shipping a national costume internationally, sketching a gown that would end up on the most photographed carpet in global sport. Recall 6 WTA professionals across 4 countries, across multiple ranking tiers, pausing their tournament week to write beautiful, ridiculous, absolutely stunning, and just passed away by this beauty in the same comment section. And then recall Aryna Sabalenka, the most composed and dominant player in women's tennis, standing before the greatest gathering of athletes in the world and saying, "I'm shaking right now. I have goosebumps." That is what GOAT means. Not anger, not conflict. The most emotionally unguarded moment of Sabalenka's public life. A champion so overwhelmed by the presence of legends that she could barely hold herself together. She trembled on that stage. She earned every moment of it. And on that same night, at the exact same time Sabalenka was speaking those words, the comment section on a piña gown was filling with voices from across the entire women's tour. That is what stealing the red carpet means. Not taking anything away from Sabalenka, but adding something to the night. A world number 44 player, 10th in the race, without a single nomination, without a seat at the awards table, walking into the Laureus World Sports Awards in her uncle's handcrafted dream and leaving after giving the room something no trophy can formally measure. A feeling, documented and undeniable, that an entire country walked in with her. She did not go to Sibylis Palace to receive anything. What she gave her country that night, in front of every great athlete in the world, is something no trophy could contain. With 0 points to defend at the French Open and currently sitting 10th in the WTA race, can she use the clay season to break back into the top 30? And if she reaches a quarterfinal in Paris, does she become the most talked about player at Roland Garros, regardless of who lifts the trophy? The people in this community have been watching since before the gown arrived, before the comment sections filled, before Tennis Channel produced a dedicated segment on a non-nominated guest. You understood what the race ranking was showing when the official ranking suggested something else. The clay season has just begun, and the next chapter, Elise Mertens, then Rome, then Paris, is where what you already know gets confirmed through results. Subscribe so you're already here when it happens.